Five Nights at Freddy's is a huge video game franchise that started as an indie game, which then became popular on YouTube and went on to become a huge property. Blah 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 blah. By this point, you most likely know what Five Nights at Freddy's is, and how massive it is. From music videos, fan arts, and what brings us here today, fan games. Thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of fan games have been made, each with their own little twist. And as the FNAF franchise became more popular, people started to play with different concepts in order to make their fan games. FNAF, but instead of pizza, burger. FNAF, but instead of horror game, RPG. Or FNAF, but free. But what I want to talk about today, and why you probably clicked on this video, is FNAF, but if Freddy was Mexican, and also a skeleton. Cool skeletons, extra hours, or by its name in Spanish, Calacas Chidas, Horas Extra, is a FNAF game, but if it was made by Mexicans who are chronically online. This game is centered around Calacas Chidas, which is an old meme trend within the Mexican and Hispanic communities of these goofy ass images of skeletons with some dumbass text attached. You've probably seen these around, as they were also kinda popular for a bit in the English community, but they really took off in Mexico and other Spanish speaking countries as a running gag. So much so that some Mexican guys decided they were gonna make a FNAF game around them. And it's surprisingly good. In this game, instead of working at a diner or a pizza joint, we are working at an OXXO, which is the Mexican equivalent of a 7-Eleven. As any other FNAF game, every night we get calls explaining what is happening and how things work. However, instead of a human calling us, it's one of these cool skeletons, which happens to be our manager. He quickly explains that while some investigation is going on, you're being delegated to this office that was used as a storage room. As the week progresses, he introduces us to 4 characters that we have to deal with. Mayoneso, which is just another skeleton trying to scare us because he likes joking and scaring people. However, his jokes can get a little rough, so our skeleton manager recommends that we don't get caught because he might end up killing us by accident. Don Chewy. He's just a homeless guy trying to get drunk. However, the OXXO is legally not allowed to sell him beer past 12 AM, but he will keep pestering you for beer regardless. The freezer skeleton. This one doesn't get a name, however he's apparently frozen inside the freezer, so we have to make sure we don't let him out. And finally, my favorite, the bathroom skeleton. This guy apparently just happened to show up one day and just started dancing. He apparently calms down once you give him Maruchan for some reason. I quickly go over how to deal with them too, since they're pretty straightforward. Hey, it's future me talking. Turns out I fucked up. The guy that's calling you, your manager, is called Mayoneso, and the guy that attacks your door is called Milaneso. It sounds really stupid, but it gets really complicated on, so I'll just be putting the correct names on the screen every time I say it wrong. So just to let you know, just so you don't get confused. But yeah, fair warning, I'm sorry about that. Mayoneso will always hit your left door. He plays the sound cue of him walking to the door right before attacking. Once you hear this, just close the door before he finishes walking to the door and you should be good. However, as you progress through the week, your time window to react to the sound cue becomes small, and I mean really small. Zone 3 basically has 2 stages, one where he's in front of the OXXO and one where he's outside of your right door. He will always give you a sound cue when he moves outside of your door. After that, just close the door and wait for some banging. Once he hits your door, it will go back to his initial position and then just rinse and repeat. Our manager explains that he's really insistent and he was not lying. The freezer skeleton basically acts like a puppet. Just keep the freezer above a certain temperature by pressing this button right here and you'll be golden. And finally, for the bathroom skeleton, just give him a Maruchan every time you hear music in the bathroom and he'll go away. This one is really silly because he won't kill you if you fail to give him some Maruchan, but he will stun you for a good few seconds while just fucking emoting on you. What? While this game is clearly a joke fan game, it's surprisingly good and consistent with its mechanics. You close doors with the keybinds A and E, which means you're faster at closing doors, but it also means the game feels more comfortable throwing more shit at you. So you'll constantly find yourself being attacked by multiple enemies at the same time while having to manage the temperature of the freezer. And remember how I said Don Chewy is really fucking insistent? Well, he's constantly hitting your door, creating this constant feeling of pressure. I ended up dying quite a few times, and admittedly sometimes it felt kinda unfair, but I really think it presented a good challenge. If I had to give some criticism to the gameplay, it would be that the cameras often become blurry and hard to even figure out what's going on. And when trying to look around your office, the movement is so painstakingly slow. For a joke fan game, this one has quite a bit of extra content. First, it has a pussy mode, which is for people who can't beat the game normally. It also has a typical 6th and 7th night, but the 7th night, instead of being just a custom night, is pretty much a boss fight. I honestly didn't take time to beat this one because the only way to unlock it is to get a specific ending, and yes, this fan game has endings. Another neat little detail is that this game has those 8-bit minigames and a special reward after you get all seekers and all the endings. Yes, this goofy ass fan game has lore. Now, you're gonna have to stay with me on this one, okay? So, we have this guy called Haha al Chile. Yes, that is his name, and no, I didn't just make that up. He was the one that made the cool skeletons, well, pretty cool, and launched them into popularity. Haha al Chile also founded the company Calacastidas, which further increased their popularity, resulting in movies and general content, also giving way to other skeleton celebrities. They became so big that they have a certain degree of ownership over the company OXXO. Everything seemed to be good until the founder of Calacastidas disappeared. Shortly after his disappearance, both humans and skeletons started to disappear as well. The only clue left by people who disappeared was the image of the meme Haha al Chile, but in black and white, leading the police to believe that the company Calacastidas was involved in some way. That's the reason why you're in that old storage room and not working at the counter. They're keeping you there until the investigations are done. If this already sounds pretty silly, well, it's because it is, but we're not done. In night 5, we get a call from Mayoneso. He explains that while investigating, he found out who was the one behind the disappearances. But before he's able to tell us, something happens to him.
Me puse a reunir pistas y teorizar, y todo apunta a que el criminal más probable es nada más y nada menos que... Mierda, seguro son los pinches cholos, me los voy a putear bien fácil las cascajas, ya vuelvo. Ahora sí, pinches cholos, ya valieron verga, ya no son los cholos.
After we beat night 5 and 6, and also get all 7 secrets within the game, we unlock night 7. Like I said before, night 7 is pretty much a boss fight, but before we start the boss fight, we get a call from Milaneso. He explains that Mayoneso has gone missing, and the last one that talked to him was us, so he's gonna avenge him by beating the shit out of us. He then proceeds to be really aggressive until 2 AM, when he calls us again to say this.
Oye, me acabo de dar cuenta de que tú estabas en el Otso cuando desapareció, jaja qué pendejo, te dejaré en paz y le voy a meter unos vergazos a Don Chui para que te deje de joder, espero encontrar a Mayoneso pronto.
We then get another call, but this time from Mayoneso. He explains that he managed to survive. However, Haha al Chile is the murderer, and he's coming for us. I'm not making this shit up, this is actually the lore, I promise you.
Oye, hijo de tu puta madre, escucha, estoy vivo, no tengo mucho tiempo, el asesino es Jaja al Chile y va para allá, yo te puedo guiar y decirte dónde está, así que escucha con atención, no sé cuánto tiempo quede, te daré indicaciones de qué puerta cerrar y qué hacer, y tú debes hacerlo, ¿entiendes?
He will help us defend against him by telling us where he's gonna attack us from. This portion of the night is very interesting, because this boss fight is pretty similar to when we face Nightmare in FNAF 4. If Mayoneso says Haha al Chile is in the bathroom, we have to use the Maruchan dispenser. If haha chile is either on our right or left door, we just have to close the corresponding door. If haha chile is in our office, we just have to open the cameras. If haha chile is in the cooler, we just have to wind up the cooler. A sound cue will play every time we successfully avoid haha chile. I'm getting fucking tired of saying that name. After we defeat haha chile, we unlock night 8. In this night, we have 150% battery, but every single enemy will be attacking us, including including haha chile. Oh my god, I'm tired of that shit. After we successfully beat this night, we get this dialogue.
Jaja, qué pedo, este pendejo se puso una pedota y se quedó dormido en el Oxxo, qué mamada, tendré que reportárselo al admin juas.
Because this is Mexico, and because haha Chile is pretty fucking rich, he gets away with no jail time for the murders he committed. Meanwhile, we get fired from getting drunk while on the job, not paying the maruchans we used, and destroying company equipment. And this concludes our story. Yes, I had to spend time on this, and yes, it took me a long fucking time. This game was hella fun, and even though it's not up there with the greatest of fan games, it still manages to be an interesting and fun fan game. The game never tries to take itself seriously, and I think that's what makes it charming. It's filled with references to memes, and even if you don't understand the language, I still think it manages to be pretty funny. I would give this one 4 skeletons out of 5. Either way, that's been all from me today. I'll see you next time.